Greetings. So I got a question for you. I got a couple questions for you. I'm a bag of questions. What opens with a daddy-daughter reading time? They're reading from Sojourner Truth's Ain't I a Woman Talk, which has been published in a newspaper. And the daughter asked the father about a particular quote where the daughter, where Sojourner Truth says, they say, well, they ain't got nothing to do with women. And she like, well, where did your Jesus come from? Jesus came from woman and God. Man ain't had nothing to do with that. So there. And the daughter is like, well, Daddy, what does it mean? And the father says in the opening scene that you are strong. Women are strong, not just in your body, but in your mind too. And then what closes with a shot of Season 1's Super Slave Tracker, Super Slave Catcher, August, with Patty Cannon declaring him the most motivated to pluck the petals off of Black Rose. If you guessed Underground Season 2, Episode 3, you're correct. That's what I'm reviewing. Stick around if you want to hear more about my thoughts and recap of this episode. The episode was called Aches, but when I saw it, I'm like, Ashe? As in, like in the Yoruba type people or people who, sometimes I even say Ashe, like, so it is. But look, I looked it up. I looked up the word Aches, like aches. But Ashe, like the what I think of as Ashe also came up. But I just want to read this because I think that it's so much a part of the theme of the show. Authority, divine force, the power to make things happen, God power, producing change. And then the other thing that I looked up, while I got these notes in my hand, is the Ain't I a Woman Talk was given the first time I think it was given was in 1851 in Akron, Ohio at a woman's conference. And so I just heard a reviewer for It's Rocks, hey girl, hey, say that she thought that was Ernestine's dad. I don't think the timeline works, but I was thinking it was her son, her first son, that was lost in translation, not really in translation, but lost in the bullshit that is the transatlantic slave trade as it manifested in this country and continues to manifest to this day. But anyway, those were my notes. So I did look it up, and it was published. The Ain't I a Woman talk evolved over time, and it didn't have that name initially. And I'm not even sure if the Ain't I a Woman part was used in that initial talk. But maybe it was, but it was only published in 2 papers at that time, a report of what happened. And it wasn't, the full transcript wasn't published, but I think a couple years later, if I remember correctly, it was published in an abolitionist, newspaper or publication or something. Cause I'm like, now who, and I have that in my notes. I'm like, now who published, how, I was just kind of curious about, how he came to, he'd be snatching up pieces of paper. So we know, again, this is the 3rd episode. The first 2, after second episode, I'm like, now throughout the season, are they going to have him, just little snippets of him at the beginning of the show, and then we don't see anything else? And well, so far episode 1 through 3, that has been the case. So, but we enjoy it. I love it. And someone else suggested that perhaps this man is on Cato's plantation. So y'all, it's all kinds of theories out there floating around. We just trying to figure this out, like we trying to figure life out. Okay. Yeah, so what type of newspaper? Oops. Are you okay? Are you all right? I got a whole sophisticated, not so sophisticated system of proppage going on here, and Miss Bella on my lap. So I'm surprised she didn't get up and run, because I always tell her, I don't tell her, I tell her because that's what she does. Run, Bella, hide, save yourself. She looking at me like, should I run now? But that's what she do anyway. She don't be worried about nobody else. All she be worried about is Miss Bella. She's so little, she got to look out for her. If she don't look out for her, who gonna look out for her? Huh? You gonna look out for her? You don't even know her. How you gonna look out for her? Okay, let me stop being silly and get back to this review. Okay, so we see Steen in in the water. It's a beautiful shot. So many of these shots are so beautiful. But we see Steen in the water. She's talking to her ancestor son, Sam. And Sam is like, I thought you promised that Massa Tom was going to be the last one, the last white man or whatever. And then Steen kind of leaves and she's walking through the village. I don't even really know what to call it, but she's walking through. A white man walks up to her. He like, where you been? You supposed to be working. Ernestine does not even acknowledge him. I guess she's really at the point in her life where she just, she gives no cares. So she just walks, it's like she don't even see him. She can't hear him. He don't even count. She sees Sam, her son, who was hung. She don't see you, sir. So you were supposed to be working. She ignores him. He smacks her down to the ground. He's about to beat her. Hicks, her man who, don't you beat her. I like to beat her, whatever. He jumps in to save her. She didn't ask him to save her. I actually feel for Hicks. I'm a compassionate person. So I be feeling for everybody. I feel like everybody doing the best that they can, even when they be getting on my nerves. But, Steen, and that's kind of, I actually realized when I rewatched it, and I was going to say that's the beginning of her breakdown, but her whole life is probably the beginning of her breakdown. Just, it'd be so many things just pulling at us, at we. I love the Gullah Geechee. We. It reminds you of the Rastafarian. And, I have a piece on my blog talking about we. I use we a lot, and I notice, anyway. But somebody pointed it out and made me more conscious of it, so that I use it consciously. Because we are a collective. We connected, y'all. We all in this together. We all in this together. We all in this together. Okay, let me hurry up because we know it's going to be running. This is going to be long. It's not going to be long. It's going to be short. It's going to be quick. It's going to be small but mighty. And we also find out in that scene that Miss Ernestine is going to be singing tonight for the head capturer, torturer, exploiter, white person in charge, or in that family line or whatever. We see the tracking of Rosalie. We know that she's been shot. She removes the knife with a bullet. She uses some gunpowder. I think it's gunpowder. I believe that. I read that someplace. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. It's gunpowder. And then she tries to seal it with a match, which, the match just goes out. So she got to use the gun to seal it. So she lays the gun up against her and shoots the gun, and we kind of see the redness, which indicates the heat. And I think that's some sort of cauterization, process. I'm not a nurse or anything like that, but I think that's what's going on. It sends Rosalie into a flashback at when she looks to be about 8 to me, and Steen makes her jump on the bed, and they're at the jump on the bed in the warden's part of the forced labor camp where they live. Some of y'all might call it the big house, but I'm trying to work through this language stuff because we working through this language stuff and teaching her to get joy and to find joy and take joy when and where she can. And once again, we saw in season 1, Ernestine, if y'all don't get out of here, Patty Cannon is gonna get you. And here again, she mentions Patty Cannon. And then we see, not Ernestine, but Miss Rosalie stab herself with something. I don't know what she's doing. But that's part of, I guess, her healing process from this gunshot wound. We see Miss Clara underneath the bottle tree. That's the young woman who was forced to take the abortion potion that Hicks, who is Ernestine's man, had asked or made Ernestine prepare for her. The elders, the older men in the community, I think it's only men, are standing around her. Who's the baby? Who's the daddy's baby? Who's the baby? Who's the father? Who's the father? Who did this to you? You lost your baby. The ancestors took your baby because of your sin. Who did this to you? Who did this? We're here to help you. We're all going to take care of you together. And when I first saw it, I'm like, they all going to take care of what? Because she done had the abortion. But when we lose children, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, there's an ongoing pain that's associated with that. And so, the whole community is invested in her mental health, her emotional health, her spiritual health, and that's what they're expressing. I'm not really a fan of the men yelling at her, but I think that it was interesting. They say the ancestors took your child for your sin. Who the father? We shaming you because you should feel shame. We gonna heal this pain together. We're shaming you because you should feel shame. And one person who I was listening to, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, sister girl, yet, but I love your reviews. You don't really do reviews, you just do commentary. But I commented on, if you find me, I commented on your video today that I love your reviews and that I love your commentary. But shaming you. She was saying that, it's almost this idea of, they still have, or that I shouldn't say they still, because there's lots of people today who have morals and values and, want their children and daughters and sons to have dignity and to carry themselves and to feel, worthy and valuable and carry themselves with respect. But that she should feel ashamed for, not carrying herself with, the dignity that, is a reflection of who she is. So I don't know. I felt, kind of terrorized by the scene, and I felt offended, as a woman. I feel like I wish it could have been handled in another way, by the women. But it's like I appreciated it though, because I feel like there's a lot. It gave me something to think about and another way to look at things. I may not understand everything, and some things that I don't agree with, it may be because I just don't understand it, or I have a different take and I have a different experience and I come from a different cultural experience. But I am definitely a fan of community support, and I'm a fan of personal dignity and personal worth. So, there may be some strategies to get there that, I don't know if that's a strategy to get there, and then so many things in life, things are just like the characters. The characters, like human beings, are mixed. We're not all good. We're not all bad. And probably our strategies are like that too. They're not all good. They're not all bad. They have some benefit, and they might have some deleterious effects. Is that a real word? Did I just make that up? Okay. So we see that French. We see a flashback of French with the prego with Miss Ernestine. She's pregnant. We learn from that scene that Ernestine had a child before Sam, because French is like, oh, I like Solomon. She's like, Solomon don't really feel right. Maybe Sam. He's like, well, Solomon was the firstborn son of, and Ernestine is like, And it's kind of like we realized then that she has had a firstborn son. That's why I was thinking that, Mr. Sojourner Truth, Daddy, Love Man may be Ernestine's son. Maybe that's the baby boy. I don't know. Okay. And then he said, well, and sometimes I guess we just say stuff because we want to be comforting and we want to, look, my phone is doing that again. So he said, I'm not going to let them take the baby from you. And I'm like, how he going to stop them from doing anything? So, that scene happens there, and I guess the main point of that is that we realize that Ernestine has had a child before, and she also speaks into or kind of, we see the foreshadowing of Rosalie, and this connection between Rosalie and Ernestine is at the core of this episode. She says, if it's a girl, I like Rosalie. We like Rosalie too. So Rosalie is on the run. She sees two deer. That's not relevant at all. We see Rosalie discovering that she has leeches all over her, and she's removing the leeches from her. And I love the use of the screen silence and the darkness silence. There's the screen goes silent, and there's darkness in the background to kind of represent the fact that Rosalie is blacking out. So she's in and out of consciousness, and the sound and the light are in and out. We see Rosalie also have a fight to his death with a tracker who Cannon kind of forced to go, you swim and you stay on the trail, and we're going to take the long way around, and we'll meet you over there. And there is, it's like just they fighting. And I don't know, I think that almost anybody has superhuman strength when you're, or not anybody could have superhuman strength when they're protecting their child and when they're protecting their life. You hear these stories, I don't know if y'all ever heard them, of mothers who turn cars over because their babies are underneath them. And in normal life they wouldn't necessarily be able to do that. So I think this idea of Black people being super strong, or we be under super extreme stress and pressure, and sometimes we just come up with some stuff. So she fought this man, she bit his ear off, they fighting, he kicking, they fighting, and she ends up biting his ear off, spitting it out, and then stabbing him in the eye, and he's dead. That's a wrap for him. I feel bad for him because he was probably destitute, relatively poor, because we know that the 1% now, or 10%, or whoever it is, they run stuff, they're benefiting from the system, and the rest of us are just down here, trying to survive and trying to, so, I don't feel like he was necessarily, evil. It's an evil system. And we do the best we can. We got to change the system, y'all. So we see when she stabs him in the face, they have this beautiful shot of the two of them above. They're stacked on top of each other, her on top, him underneath, arms spread, and that's a beautiful shot. I don't know why it would be a beautiful shot of a dead person, but let's say life above death, or whatever, but it's a beautiful shot. And it leads into a flashback of Harriet and Rose, and Harriet Tubman and Rosalie are kind of talking about their parents, and Rosalie is anxious. What if my mother doesn't want to leave when we go back to rescue her? And Harriet is talking about her mama didn't want to leave, and her mama had her thinking she was special because her mama thought that they were special slaves that were going to be freed when they were 45 years old. And when her mother found out that wasn't true, it kind of changed things for her, but she went kicking and screaming. By the time she was able to was free, was willing to be, go to freedom with Harriet, she was fussing the whole way. And her father thinks that the trees in Canada are different. Her father has a connection with trees. He's a tree guy. Rosalie says, yeah, my brother Sam believed in that specialness too, that if he just worked hard and did what the master said. And we hear him say later on basically that same sentiment, that his mother taught him to be the exceptional Negro, and that'll keep you alive. We be looking for some strategies, y'all, to survive. We really do. And I guess they can work temporarily, and sometimes we got to take what we can get until we can create something better. And we use ashe, we create, we're power, we're making some better things. And then there's an allusion to Ernestine felt that she wants to make the best life that she can inside of this pain. That's how Rosalie interprets it. And Harriet says, well, basically your mama did something right, because I'm looking at you swinging that axe, and basically just how you living, and your mom did good. Your mom did good by you. We see Steen under the bottle tree. She's having a convo with Clara's dad, who I think is the preacher. He says that pain thrives in isolations, that the ancestors teach that we ain't in this alone. Steen is remembering washing French's dead and beaten body, and her son asking if she'll do that for him. I'm not convinced. My mother is like, clearly the child is Sam when he was a baby. I'm like, but maybe that's her first son. But I don't know. I'm not convinced. I don't know who it is, but I do believe that it's Ernestine's son, because the boy says mama. So we gonna go with that. Washing his dead body. Yeah. Okay. So back to the bathtub, that was a theme, an ongoing theme, or what I would call a character in the first season. We see Ernestine in a bathtub. The water is pink. She's ironing clothes. She's putting on lipstick. And she's getting high. She's getting ready to go to perform, to sing at the Monsters house tonight, at the big house. And her boyfriend is like, well, maybe lay off, the getting high. Don't get just so high. Get, just a little high. And Ernestine, again, she gives no cares. She's like, I'm getting high. I ain't hearing none of what you want to say. Um, she has an interaction with Sam. Sam is like, why you acting all sad to be going to the master's house? You love the master's house. That's home. That's where you at your best, Steen. I said when. I said where. I was a hoe. I was just trying to, I was his whore. I was just trying to do the best that I could, but I set it up the best way that I could. Well, what about Rosalie? Rosalie was security. Well, what about James? James was a mistake, and I made sure that it didn't happen again. You just fattened me up for the slaughter. You made me into Massa's most exceptional nigga, and all it got me was the length of a rope. Oh, it just breaks my heart. She's doing the best she can. She's really struggling with trying to make sense of a nonsensible situation. And that's that 39 thing. It's like it's so much in this world that is just it's so much in this world that's evil and doesn't make sense. And there's so much in this world that is good and beautiful too. We go into the big house, into where the captors live, the people who run the work camp, and exploit our labor and our lives and terrorize us. There's the son of the head white torturer in charge is there with some of his friends. His friends want to party and turn up, and he not drinking, so they trying to get Hicks drunk. They trying to have fun. He done got kicked out of school. He's ambiguous about this whole slavery thing. He kind of tells a story. I don't know. I can't remember if it's about his grandmother or his mother, but I think it's one of his relatives. But I don't know. But when she first came, she's like, oh, I don't want to be waited on hand and foot. Then she said it was like the hand was willing to be waited on in the foot. Then before he knew it, she was, cussing out and terrorizing, the women who were forced, or the women and men, or whoever was forced to work for her for free, and be terrorized by her and her family. And that son is kind of concerned about being changed for the worse and being turned into, a leech, like, his people are. And so he's kind of expressing that. And he kind of talks about this whole idea of bondage versus slavery, and the fact that, there's this quote, I don't know who, I can't even tell you the quote, but it's basically like, if you holding somebody else down, in order to hold them down, you got to stay down. So it's like, if you're trying to demean me, if you're trying to make me into a slave, you have to be holding me down. If you're trying to treat me like an animal, you down there in the mud with me. You can't rise and elevate. You are not risen or elevated. You ain't shit when you treating me like shit. So he talks about bondage and the fact, like, when you're bound together, you're connected. And he likes bondage. He feels like that's much more descriptive of this system of slavery. Ernestine, the guy keeps trying to get Hicks to drink. Well, why don't we hear some music? Ernestine starts singing. When she first started singing, I can't remember what she said, but I was kind of like, huh? And I wasn't quite. I felt nervous from the beginning. And then she sits on the man's lap. The black woman drank from the white man's cup, from the same cup, and she's drinking from the cup and sitting on his lap. And I'm like, are we seeing her work her, black girl on white man magic, or is she over the line? Is she trying to get what's going on? What's really going on? And it turns into, if you haven't heard Nina Simone do Pirate Jenny, I'm gonna put a link in here, but there's this is like a Pirate Jenny moment. This is like Nina Simone, Pirate Jenny moment for me. I love that scene. But Steen, starts off, and she puts on a show. And the only people who are amused by it, Steen and Ancestor Sam, Ernestine is cracking up. Ancestor Sam is giggling. One or two of the housewomen who are forced to work in the house enjoy Ernestine's show. They're kind of, smiling. They probably don't know what to think. Although you figure, again, if you lived in those times, just like you live in these times, we see all kinds of stuff. People under pressure, under stress. You never know what you might see with people in distress. Everybody else is not amused when the people get home. Ernestine and Hicks, he want to fight her. They another fight, more fighting, sex again, more sex with Steen and Hicks. While they're having sex, Steen is having flashbacks to an encounter that she had as a youngster with a character that Angela Bassett plays, who's kind of like a medicine woman, midwife, witch type. I don't know what she is, but she's dealing with a pig. It seemed like she's gutting an animal. I think it's a pig. I don't know if she's gutting it. I don't know what she's doing. And she's trying to figure out, the baby girl Ernestine is trying to figure out how to protect herself in this world, because ain't nobody else trying to protect her. And the woman is like, you ain't, she come to the woman for advice. The woman like, you ain't pregnant. I help the girls, but you ain't pregnant. I see your little behind prancing all around, thinking you cute, and you are cute. I'm just trying to protect myself because ain't nobody trying to protect me. You can't protect nothing, Angela Bassett's character says. You can't control nothing. That body ain't yours and never will be. The only way to control anything is to, and she hold up a knife, is to cut your insides out. That's the only way. And she had a few more other uplifting things to say. Okay, so Cannon is still pitching her reality show to this Donahue writer guy, trying to pump it up and make it exciting so the people watch, and so she becomes a legend. I'm trying to figure out if the writers of actual Underground are trying to imply that Cannon's reputation for monstrosities, cruelty, sadism, and just all around bullshit fuckery is hype, or is, maybe not as terrible as it seems when you look her up. Cannon has made the connection between Black Rose and Rosalie, and she shares that with the writer. Rosalie rises, gasping from the ground after being buried. And somebody said she dug her own grave because she figured she was about to die. I didn't know if she was hiding because they figured they'd be looking for the body and find the body. But I'm kind of like, if you bury yourself and somebody comes step on I don't know, it just seemed kind of like, I don't know, I didn't really understand. But anyway, she does arise from a grave. She is reborn, she is rebirthed. That's one of the themes of the show. She rises, she's gasping, she goes and sits down by, I think she's sitting by some water in this scene. And she gets a moment to kind of breathe before she's attacked by a snake. Oh, Lord, she just can't get a break today. She passes out, she wakes up, and she's just barely able to drag herself to a concealed weapon after she eats a leech, because I guess she's desperate and hungry. Before she makes it over to the wagon, there's a scene where she sees Donahue, and to me it looks like, or where Donahue sees her, and it looks like she sees Donahue, and she just woe out, and I don't know, but he comes over, he gets her water, and he leaves, and the people are calling him in the background. I think it's water. Shoot, it could be alcohol. But during that scene where Rosalie is, I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But there's a flashback of Ernestine nursing TR as Rose brings her the other baby brother James into the room. So we see a shot of Monster Tom's sons in the crib together. I think that's what it is. So that was kind of an interesting thing. I think that's, what that's supposed to represent. Then we see a clean Ernestine trying to die. She's walking, strongly walking, and she's cradling a big rock in her arms as she walks into the water. There's French, there's Sam, there's Pearlie Mae watching, and I don't know if she waves at them or not, but those ancestors are watching her. And this scene is interspersed with Rosalie carrying the baby in her belly. We know she's dirty, she's bloody, and she's trying to live, and she's barely able to stop and go, just dragging herself through the woods. And then there's a shot of, Ernestine walks into the water. She's holding onto the rock still. I didn't notice the rock till the second or third time I saw it. But she's holding the rock. And then there's like a scene where she lets go of the rock and her arms are floating and the rock kind of floats down and it hits that belly area, so it looks like she's pregnant under the water. It's a very beautiful shot. And then we see Steen being rescued by the community. We got you, they say. I think they even say that. I'm joking, because Insecure, that's where she worked. Don't she work at We Got You? And the community is like, we got you, we got you, we got you. And, you know, there's kind of like that thing of Ernestine trying to kill herself, Rosalie trying to save herself. But when Ernestine is saved, it saves Rosalie. It gives Rosalie that energy, or that last burst of life. We see the connection through the umbilical cord. You know, she's connected to her mama for life. We see that is what gives her life. And her memories of her mother have been given her life. Memories of her mother and who her mother raised her to be has kept her alive throughout this episode. And she manages to drag herself over to this horse and carriage. I don't know if she had hidden it after she dropped off the 3 people who got on the boat, the 3 men who she was helping to Greater Freedom who got on the boat, or what. But she gets in this wagon. The horse is, takes off walking down the road. She ain't covered up or nothing. I hope the horse knows its way home and is taking her home, because animals are like that. So I don't know what is going on, and but I guess the horse knows its way home, and I guess that home is gonna be safety for Rosalie, because it was like she just couldn't get a moment. Good Lord. And that's how life be sometimes, ain't it? For some of us, for some people, life just be not like that. And then we get a shot of Cannon and Donahue. She's talking about the motivations of her kidnapping, body snatching men who work for her. Married men are more motivated than the guy who died. He wasn't married. She ain't feel like he was shit because he wasn't motivated enough for her. And she says that married men are more motivated. She says that the black men are really, really motivated, because if they're enslaved, they don't want to go back to being, if they had been formerly enslaved, they don't want to go back to being enslaved. So they work really hard for Patty Cannon to capture, enslave other black people. And if they've never been enslaved, they don't want to be enslaved. So, they don't want her to turn them in or whatever. And we also see, but she said, so she's escalating motivations, from, the unmotivated to the married men to the black people. But the most motivated in this case to get that black rose is a special case of super motivation. And the most and uniquely motivated to get Rosalie, hey, Miss Bella, is guess who? Super Slave Tracker. I was calling him Super Slave Catcher, but I don't know. He might be a tracker, but has he caught anybody? So we're going to call him Super Slave Tracker. I think I'm going to change up, call him Super Slave Tracker. He's the most motivated to get Rosalie. So that's it. That was episode 3. We only got 7 more episodes to go. But Black Watch Wednesday, Watch Black Wednesday is lit. It's on fire. I'm like behind schedule trying to keep up with this stuff. So it's good. I'm thankful. Thank you, WGN. Thank you, John Legend. Thank you. Dang, I knew your names. But the 2 writers and conceptors of the show, the white man and the black woman, thank you. It's a beautiful work. I really appreciate it. And, I don't use this expression very much, but underground is giving me life. And I'm not as obsessed with it this year as I was last year. But I did go on this big reading spree and watching spree of just really learning about, I don't know. People always say there's so many movies and there's so much information out there about our enslavement. But I guess I hadn't really been exposed to it, I guess. And also I hadn't been exposed to it in terms of, I'm just really inspired and impressed. I mean, I just think that black people are really, really amazing when you look at the things that we go through, and the fact that we have any semblance of sense, and any semblance of dignity, any semblance of intelligence or creativity or joy. It's just amazing to me. And we don't just have any semblance. We have an abundance of creativity and power and strength and joy and love. And You know, and I feel like it was something about, you know, watching this series that really helped me connect to the fact that, you know, that legacy, and that, you know, of course it didn't start with our enslavement and it hasn't ended with our enslavement, but just, you know, seeing, you know, the strength and the power of people represented, and the humanity of people represented, and the self-determined, the people's desire and willingness and ability in small ways and in large ways to be self-determining. It's just really inspiring and exciting and, you know, stimulating for me. So thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Are you in love with Underground? Okay. All right, Fabulites. I'm Angela. It's Be Fabulous You, the channel. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous. You. I'm too fabulous, baby.